My wife accused me of cheating. Turns out it's just a prank. But what happened next left me stunned. I'm 28. My wife, Helen, and I had been together for 7 years and married for 2 when our world imploded. We were the same age, building what I thought was the perfect life together. Our relationship had always felt like a safe harbor, a place where trust and understanding flourished. At least, that's what I believed until that fateful dinner party last month. It started with a text from Helen one morning. "Let's have both families over for dinner this weekend. It's been too long since we've all been together." I was in the middle of a meeting at work when I saw it, but I couldn't help smiling. There was something different about her tone, an undercurrent of excitement that made me wonder if she had special news to share. "Sure, sounds great," I replied. "Any particular reason? Can't I just want to see our families?" She texted back. "Plus, I have something important to tell everyone." My heart skipped a beat. We'd been trying for a baby, and Helen had been acting different lately, more secretive, but in a way that seemed excited rather than suspicious. I allowed myself to hope. That week, Helen threw herself into planning the dinner with an intensity I'd never seen before. She spent hours on the phone with her mother, discussing recipes and table settings. She even insisted on buying new plates, claiming our old ones weren't special enough for the occasion. "Don't you think you're going a bit overboard?" I asked one evening, watching her meticulously arrange and rearrange the dining room furniture. "I want everything to be perfect," she replied, not meeting my eyes. "Is that so wrong?" "No, of course not. It's just—" I hesitated, trying to find the right words. "You seem anxious about something." She finally looked at me then, and for a split second, I saw something in her expression. Guilt? Fear? But it was gone before I could be sure. "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just excited to have everyone together." The evening of the dinner party arrived, and Helen had outdone herself. The house smelled amazing, a mix of her signature lasagna and freshly baked bread. She'd even bought flowers for the centerpiece, something she rarely did unless it was a special occasion. She'd spent hours getting ready, emerging from our bedroom in a new dress I'd never seen before. "You've really gone all out," I said, wrapping my arms around her waist as she arranged appetizers on a platter. "Should I be worried?" She laughed and turned to face me. "Can't a wife just want to impress her family?" Looking back, I should have noticed how her laugh didn't quite reach her eyes, how there was something almost manic about her energy. But I was too caught up in the possibility of good news to see the warning signs. Our families arrived in waves. First my parents, then her sister Julia and her husband, and finally her parents. My mother brought her famous apple pie, and Helen's mom arrived with a bottle of expensive champagne, as if she knew we had something to celebrate. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," my mother said, hugging Helen. "There's something different about you. Are you glowing, or is it just my imagination?" Helen's cheeks flushed. "Let's just enjoy dinner first, shall we?" The atmosphere was light and jovial, exactly what you'd want for a family gathering. My mom was telling stories about my childhood escapades, making everyone laugh, while my dad and Helen's father debated politics in their usual good-natured way. Julia was quieter than usual, I noticed, picking at her food and barely looking at her husband. "Everything okay, Julia?" I asked during a lull in conversation. "You seem a bit down." "I'm fine," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Just tired from work." Her husband shifted uncomfortably in his seat, taking a long drink of wine. Another warning sign I missed. After dinner, as we were about to serve dessert, Helen stood up and clinked her glass with a spoon. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. My heart was racing with anticipation. "I have something important to share with everyone," she began, her voice steady but with an edge I couldn't quite place. "It's about my husband." I smiled encouragingly, expecting her to announce our happy news. Instead, what came next felt like a knife to the heart. "I've discovered that he's been having an affair with a coworker," she announced to the room. "I caught them together, and I can't pretend anymore. I'm planning to file for divorce." The silence that followed was deafening. I felt the blood drain from my face as I looked around the room, my mother's hand covering her mouth in shock. My father's disappointed expression, Helen's parents exchanging concerned glances. Julia's face was unreadable, but her husband wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. "Helen, what are you?" I started to say, my voice shaking. Before I could finish, she burst into laughter. "Got you?" she exclaimed. "It's just a joke, everyone. The real news is, I'm pregnant." The room erupted in a confused mixture of relief and congratulations, but I felt like I was underwater. A joke? How could she think that was funny? "Helen," my mother said carefully. "That was a bit—" "Oh, come on," Helen interrupted. "It was just a harmless prank." "Look how pale he got." She laughed again, but this time few joined in. I was trying to process my emotions. Relief that it was a joke, joy about the pregnancy, but also a deep sense of hurt and confusion about why she would do something so cruel. When Julia suddenly stood up, her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I can't do this anymore," she announced, her voice trembling. "Helen, how dare you pull this prank when you're the one who's actually cheating?" The room went silent again, but this time with a different kind of tension. Helen's face was drained of color. "Julia, what are you talking about?" Helen's voice was sharp, warning. "I saw you," Julia continued, turning to me, "3 months ago, at La Maison." She was with my husband. They weren't just having dinner, they were holding hands, kissing. I've been sick about it ever since. "You're lying," Helen spat. "How dare you try to ruin my moment?" But Julia wasn't backing down. "Am I? Should we talk about the text messages I found? The hotel receipts? The business trips that somehow always coincided with your work travel?" I felt like I was going to be sick. Memories started flooding back. Helen's ex, the man she'd dated on and off before me, the one she'd promised was in her past. The same man who was now married to her sister and sitting at our dinner table, looking like he wanted to disappear. "Everyone needs to leave," Helen announced abruptly. "Now, this is ridiculous." My mother hugged me tightly before leaving. "Call me if you need anything," she whispered, "day or night." Once everyone was gone, Helen turned to me, her eyes blazing. "You can't possibly believe her." "Then show me your phone," I said quietly. "Excuse me?" Her voice rose an octave. "After everything we've been through, you're going to take her side?" "It's not about taking sides, Helen. If there's nothing to hide, showing me your phone should be easy." "I can't believe you don't trust me," she said, backing away. "Maybe you're the one hiding something. Is there something going on between you and Julia? Is that why you're so quick to believe her?" I stared at her, speechless. This was a side of Helen I'd never seen before. Or maybe I'd just been blind to it. "You know what?" she continued, her voice rising hysterically. "I don't have to deal with this. Not in my condition. I'm going to my parents." She stormed upstairs and I heard her throwing things into a bag. When she came down, her mascara was smeared from crying. "When you come to your senses and realize what a mistake you're making, you know where to find me," she said, then slammed the door behind her. I spent that night on the couch, unable to face our bed. The house felt impossibly empty, filled with echoes of what I thought we had. Every photo on the wall seemed to mock me now. Had she been thinking of him when we took that vacation photo? Was she texting him during our anniversary dinner? The next few days passed in a blur. I called in sick to work, unable to face my colleagues. My phone was flooded with messages from family and friends, all asking if I was okay, if they could help. I ignored most of them. When I finally worked up the courage to call Julia, her story spilled out in detail. "I saw them at La Maison first," she explained, her voice heavy with emotion. "But there were other times too. Business trips that didn't make sense, late nights at work. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I kept hoping Helen would come clean." "How long have you known?" I asked. 3 months, she replied. "I've been gathering evidence, trying to decide what to do. I'm filing for divorce too. I can't stay with someone who would do this to me, to us." "Did you ever suspect before?" "There were signs," she said. "The way they'd look at each other at family gatherings, inside jokes I wasn't part of. But I trusted them both. God, we were such fools." Looking back now, I can see the subtle changes that preceded everything. Helen had been different in the weeks leading up to that night, more distant one moment, overly affectionate the next. I'd chalked it up to stress from her new promotion at work, or possibly even early pregnancy symptoms, since we'd been trying for a baby. How naive I was. When I finally confronted Helen at her parents' house a week later, she broke down immediately. Her mother let me in with a sympathetic look, then discreetly disappeared upstairs. "I never meant for it to happen," she sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. "He reached out after we got married. Said he wanted to clear the air. One coffee turned into dinner, and then—" "How long?" I asked, my voice hollow. "A few months after the wedding," she admitted. "I tried to end it so many times, but you didn't," I finished for her. "And now you're pregnant." "The baby is yours," she insisted. "I know it is. Please, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. Think about our child." But I was already thinking about our child. About what kind of example we would be setting by staying in a marriage built on lies. "I want a paternity test," I said firmly. "And I want a divorce." She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing harder. "Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll cut him out completely. I'll change jobs, whatever you want. Just please, don't leave me. Like you left me for him?" The words came out bitter. "Or like you left him for me all those years ago. It's a pattern, Helen. It won't stop." The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers' meetings and paperwork. The test confirmed the baby was mine, and the divorce proceedings were surprisingly smooth. Helen didn't fight me on anything, perhaps out of guilt or simply exhaustion. We're working out custody arrangements now, trying to be civil for our child's sake. Julia's divorce is proceeding too. She and I have found an unexpected friendship in our shared pain, supporting each other through the legal processes and emotional fallout. Some people have raised eyebrows at our growing closeness, but we both know it's nothing more than the bond of two people who've been through the same hell. Sometimes, late at night, I still catch myself reaching for Helen's side of the bed. The love doesn't just disappear overnight, no matter how much you wish it would. But then I remember her betrayal. The casual cruelty of her prank, the months of lies. And I know I made the right choice. Yesterday I ran into my mother at the grocery store. She hugged me tight and asked how I was holding up. "One day at a time," I told her honestly. "I'm focusing on the future, mine and the baby's." "You're stronger than you know," she said, squeezing my hand. "And you deserve someone who knows your worth." She's right. Love isn't enough when trust is broken. I deserve honesty, respect, and a partner who wouldn't dream of hurting me for a laugh or betraying our vows. The road ahead won't be easy, but at least it will be honest. Today, I started preparing what will soon be the nursery. The walls are still bare, waiting to be painted, but I've already started planning. I bought a crib, a rocking chair, and a small stuffed elephant, the first gift for my child. This room represents my future. A future that might not look like what I'd imagined, but one that's mine to shape. Helen texts me sometimes, usually late at night, saying she misses me, that she made a terrible mistake. I rarely respond. Instead, I focus on preparing for the baby, on healing, on rebuilding my life. It's not the life I planned, but maybe it's the life I needed. One where I finally learned to value myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't. The nursery walls are a blank canvas, just like my future. Tomorrow I'll start painting them a soft yellow, not blue or pink, just yellow. A fresh start. A new beginning. And maybe that's exactly what I needed all along.